I want to talk to you a little bit about the house of cards in crisis communication and crisis management. And it's certainly taken on a life of its own over the past, let's say, 3 to 4 years. But we always talk about the pre-COVID days and then the post-COVID days. But even since post-COVID, we've had COVID-19, we've had social issues, we've had supply chain issues, we have a new administration now, and navigating through all of those things really brings together a whole new type of communication pro. So it does feel like it's everything all at once, all the time, because comms pros used to wake up, you knock out a couple press releases, you send out an email, an internal announcement, maybe even an organizational announcement every now and then, and you check the box and you go on your day. And if you're lucky, you get on the Today Show or in a trade magazine or whatnot. Today, that is a fraction of what we deal with. We always talk internally about how we enjoy a good crisis just about every 2 weeks. And there's really nothing enjoyable about it, but we've gotten pretty good at how we want to do it. So we've created what I call a house of cards when it comes to crisis management. So anytime that there is a crisis of any kind, big or small, there's 3 of us. There's myself as the Chief Communications Officer, there's our head of HR, and our head of legal. Usually, one of the 3 of us finds out it before anybody else does. And immediately, we get the other 2 on the phone because somebody's either on vacation, you're in a meeting, you're working, and some of the crises may be very small in nature. It's not something we have to elevate to the CEO. It's not something that the news media is going to come at us. But there are others where it is a huge deal, and you have to really roll up your sleeves and get involved. So creating a crisis playbook is a really good idea, and not just a really good idea, it is instrumental. Think about it from a sports perspective. You would never coach a football team without a play chart, without a playbook. You wouldn't just write plays in the sand, maybe like they used to do in Sandlot. You don't do that anymore. You need a playbook. Now, when a crisis happens, you're going to go off script because not every crisis is created equal. Not every crisis follows the exact linear playbook. There could be different variables of it. But if at least you have a base of here's who I'm going to call, here's what I might do, here's a 75% of the way done template for what a potential holding statement might look like, then at least you're already part of the way there. So when a crisis happens, you're not starting from scratch because things move so fast. They move fast because of social media. They move fast because of your internal employees. They move fast because everybody wants to know everything at the same time. You might be having a cyber issue, which is knock down an entire plant or knock down people's email. They want to know what is happening now in that moment. I've seen it happen at children's hospitals. That is a whole other element of crisis when doctors have to go in and do surgeries without machines or do it when they have nothing to fall back on. But when you think about, too, the management of it, a big piece of that crisis playbook is the media or AI or who is telling your story. So you've got to stay on top of things. You really need to stay on top of the message at all times. But you also have to fine-tune that line between over-communicating and communicating at the right time. You can't just say everything you want to say all at once, but at the same time, you have to stay a couple steps ahead of your employees or your customers because you do not want them coming to conclusions. You do not want them making up their own assumptions, then going to social media because that becomes the new reality. Now you're playing catch up to what really is. But one stakeholder not to forget are your internal champions. And when you talk about who needs to be the voice, you've got to make sure that your managers and your internal stakeholders know the story and the right story to tell because they're going to be your voice. They're going to be the people on social media who are going to diffuse some of the rumors that are out there. They're also the ones who can continue to cascade the message down. It can't always be the CEO talking to thousands and thousands of employees. They don't have that ability. And think about this too. There are times when you don't have access to email anymore. There are times when that is completely wiped out. So you've got to also, in that crisis management, build an off-script communication plan. What happens if you can't get to the phone? There is no text. You can't reach out to email. What are you going to do when that happens? And remember, you are always judged based off of the end game. In football standards, if you are 7-4, you are a 7-4 team. It doesn't matter if you wore great jerseys, or if you almost won, or you won by 2, or you lost by 3. Your record is what your record is. And in crisis management, you are judged based off of how big the crisis happened and what you did to help prevent it.